show on the road. Just want to start by saying welcome to everybody. My name is Will Deegan, and I am ConnectALL's Director of Outreach. I'm joined here by Selena Gul Mohammed, who everybody here knows, I'm sure, as the program manager for the Municipal Infrastructure Program, and by Eileen Pete, who has put together a wonderful presentation about what Southern Tier Network has found to be most effective in the digital marketing realm. So excited to get everybody on the way with digital marketing. Oops. So a little bit about today's session. This session is being recorded, and the slides will be emailed out to everybody at the end of the session. While the presentation is going on, please send questions using the Q&A function or the chat, and then we'll open it up to a live Q&A at the end. I know that Eileen will be answering questions as the session goes, so feel free to ask them, and I think that she will stop at the end of slides just to answer anything and to open stuff up for discussion a bit. So the first thing I want to cover, I know everybody has been asking about it, are the outreach tabs, status updates for the outreach tabs on your trackers. We'll go over that a bit. Then we will turn it over to Eileen for the digital marketing oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to change your name here, Eileen. My apologies. We will turn it over to Eileen for digital marketing best practices, and then open it up for a Q&A session at the end. So a couple of notes on the outreach tab. As most of you know, we've been working on a bit of a revamp of it. I just want to emphasize to everybody that the outreach tab is there not as like an extra thing to fill out, but it's there as a tool for you to use to track your efforts. If we don't track things and if we don't compare results against our KPIs, then you won't know what's working and what's not. It'll mean just throwing a lot of money at the project, and we won't really have any quantifiable evidence that something is working. So on that note, we've been working on redesigning the tab. It's very, very similar to what it was before. However, it's had a couple of changes with an emphasis on getting more quantitative information from all of the grantees. The reason we want quantitative information is because once we build up a store of enough of this stuff, we can go back to it, we can analyze it, we can look and we can see things like, oh, look, whenever an MIP sends out a mail piece, it results in an uptick in interest of this amount. Or we can see that something like mail is not working. If we don't have accurate and well-tracked quantitative data, then it's very, very, very hard to sort of gauge the successes of these efforts. And I know that you guys are all working incredibly hard on this stuff. So I want to make sure that we're actually tracking what's successful and what's not. like I was saying, we want to be able to better calculate the returns on investment here and the progress toward our total sign up goals. I also want to emphasize that this whole thing gets a lot easier if we update the tabs frequently. Um, I I find it takes a lot less time when I'm updating trackers to spend 5 minutes a day on them than it does if I wait until the end of a reporting period and then I have to spend 3 or 4 hours to go back through all of the legacy data and add it up and put it in and double check it. It means I don't have to call a bunch of people to find out, like, hey, I think we did this this can't canvassing effort during this reporting period, but I'm not actually sure. Like, can you give me more information? It means that I'm putting it all in when it's fresh in my mind, and that helps save a lot of time in the long run. ConnectALL has completed the update to the tab. We're just working on transferring your existing data over. So nobody's going to be starting from square one here. All of your existing data information will be in the new version of the tab, which should give you a good sort of jumping off point to putting new information in. So over the next 2 weeks, as we finish transferring all of the legacy information over, we are going to roll the new version out to everybody individually. And I will certainly be available to answer any questions, and everybody can email me or call me. I'll also be meeting with everybody, probably along with Niket and Selena, one-on-one. This is what the new tab looks like. It's very similar, but again, we're looking to sort of quantify things a bit more. So we're looking for durations, we're looking for results, and we're also categorizing things, so that like the type of outreach effort, so that it makes it a little bit easier for you guys to select one from a number of options instead of having to decide, like, is this a visibility piece? Is this a earned media piece? It will allow us to sort of like quantify results by type of outreach effort and by type of project a little bit more effectively, and it'll allow you guys to do that too. So on that note, I'd like to introduce Eileen Pete from Southern Tier Network. She's going to be our main presenter today. Here's some background information. She currently serves as the sales and marketing manager for STN, where she has done an incredible job driving the digital marketing angle. We asked her to sort of lead this webinar because STN has seen some great results from their outreach efforts, specifically in the digital realm. And she very graciously agreed. She's got a long career in sales and marketing, as you can see. And she is the co-founder and organizer of the Upstate New York Business Meetups, which is a really cool networking event in the Southern Tier, which connects entrepreneurs and professionals across the area. And I highly recommend anybody who is in the area to attend one of her events there. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Eileen. Thank you for putting this presentation together, and hope everybody looks forward to it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I'm very excited to have everybody here. We're going to move through this. I know it's Friday, so I don't want to keep everybody long. But I don't like to read off of slides. So I'm going to be just discussing a lot of content. You can all read the bulleted points. In case you're not familiar with Southern Tier Network, the best kept secret in the Southern Tier for over 14 years. Our mission, our vision statements are available on the screen, and we're going to go ahead and move forward. So agenda today, we're just going to be kind of covering the introduction about who STN is, understanding our audience, building our brand, marketing for internet service providers, some social media marketing. I get asked questions about social media marketing all the time. So I'll give you some of the great tips that have been working well for us here. Connecting with your audience, how we measure our success, analytics, right? Because we all know that numbers don't lie. Celebrating quick wins, some things that you can do, in the next couple days to get your marketing up to speed. And then we left some time for closing and questions. Again, too, if anybody does have a question while I'm presenting, you don't have to wait till the end. Jump in. I will certainly answer questions. If I don't know the answer to it, I will find out the answer for you. So we will go ahead and get started. Southern Tier Network. We started with 3 counties and the Southern Tier Central Regional Planning Board, and we've now expanded to 8 counties. As many of you know, we are an open access fiber network provider, so we don't provide internet, but we partner with other internet service providers to sell internet. So we will jump right in. Understanding your audience. Very interesting fact that I learned while I was putting this presentation together, because I was thinking about, right, who are we selling to? Who is our audience? And it came to me where, is it women? Is it men? Who's making these household decisions? So as you can see, 66% women and men equally report that among the members of their household, they are the ones who are making the decisions regarding their streaming services, TV, internet. So when we are putting together a marketing plan, we are understanding that our audience is both men and women. So define your audience. Is it residential? Is it business? Is it both? Speak to the needs of your region. In upstate New York, right, we have cities, farmland, cities, farmland, cities, farmland, right? It's kind of spread out throughout upstate New York. So rural and urban, right, know that difference. Your messaging, may look different. Recently, I got the pleasure of speaking with one of our customers, and I got to hear her story, how they had, dial-up internet and then no internet access at all. So it wasn't until STN came in with their Nichols project that she was able to have internet. She has 8 grandkids, and they're all in and out of her house and using internet. So understanding what the area that you're serving looks like, and then pain points. What is a pain point, right? It's a term often used in sales. So the example that I just used with our customer from Nichols, not having any internet was certainly a pain point. So understanding what some of those may be, could it be slow speeds, no service? Have they had one provider and that one provider has been able to raise their rates, without any other option for them. So using pain points with your marketing, and then using the data from your marketing, right, to know your audience. surveys, reading our analytics, and community feedback. So hearing from people in that community that you serve is certainly going to be very important with marketing and storytelling within your marketing and advertising. Quickly, we're going to touch on building your brand. So your brand is not just your logo. I run into this quite often with people that I've worked with, where they say, oh, I have a great brand. I have this awesome logo. I spent forever putting it together, but your brand is not just your logo, right? It's your reputation. It's the customer experience. It's how your consumer feels when they're interacting with your business. So in order to achieve that, we want to make sure that we have consistent voicing and messaging across your platforms. Are the words that you're using in your social media campaigns the same words that they're finding on your website when they get to your website, right? You want to show that you're reliable, accessible, really looking for that community connection. You're going to hear me say a sentence today, probably a couple times along the way. And it's one of my favorite sentences in marketing, but confused consumers do not make a purchase. So I'm going to repeat that one more time. Confused consumers do not make a purchase. So let's take a logo, for example. Say your logo is a green triangle, and you said that my colors are green and white, okay? Let's say that you decide you really like the color orange, and now you're putting orange circles on all of your print material or on your social media, right? You're confusing your consumer. So they want to see that green triangle. They want to hear the same words consistently throughout. So really making sure that that brand identity is clear across all of your marketing. And that marketing is going to include, right, your logo, your website, your print material, every place that you're showing up. Sorry about that. Always happens when you're presenting. One more over. There we go. So our marketing basics, clear, simple messaging, right? You're building trust within your audience. When I first started here, I've been here about 6 months. You can see that top corner on your screen is a postcard. That was one of the ones that I put together when we went out. Clear, simple messaging, fast, reliable, high-speed fiber internet. You know, your local provider, service provider in the area. That's something that we stay with that theme consistently through our messaging. Storytelling over the course of the next few weeks, if you follow us on social media. If you don't, I highly encourage you on that second screen that you're all sitting in front of to follow us on Facebook or LinkedIn. But we recently had a videographer in to do some recording for us so that we could get our story out more and work on building our content library. But you are going to see that success story with that consumer in our video messaging, right? It's very important that we are telling our stories with what we do. Word of mouth, community presence. One of the ISPs that we work with, actually 2 of them have been great at being out in the community. I want to say one of them was attending, stepped into a local VFW, went to some community functions. Prior to me joining the team here at STN, they had great success going to some of the community and town hall functions and talking about who we are and what we do. So they saw great results from that. And that's something that we're going to be doing again coming up here shortly. But also with that, where you are is a call to action, your CTAs. So I just gave you a call to action at the beginning of this slide when I said on your second screen, right, that you're sitting in front of, if you could go to Facebook or LinkedIn and you could give Southern Tier Network a follow, right? That's a call to action. So making sure that on any of your print material, call to action can be sign up, check availability, learn more. We want to make sure that you're really seeing those CTAs. I included 2 of my favorite marketing quotes at the bottom of this slide, just to kind of get those wheels turning for you for a few things to think about. Marketing isn't about tricking people. It's about helping them see why they can trust you. So showing up, being present, right? Building that relationship, that trust. People don't buy the best product. They buy the one they understand within 5 seconds. And that's important with our marketing. Like I mentioned before, if you have one logo that's the green triangle, but you decide you really like orange circles and you're going to put them all over because you think they look nice, you're confusing your consumer. And back to the sentence I said I was going to repeat probably quite a few times, confused consumers do not make a purchase. So social media marketing. This is something I have a very strong background in. So starting with STN, this is certainly where I put a lot of time to get us going and off the ground with this. But we're going to talk about choosing the right platform. So Facebook, you're looking at those demographics. Typically, you're seeing, 30 plus. Although if any of you have teenagers like I do, you'll notice that, those 17 and 18-year-olds like to get on Facebook too, to kind of spy on what their parents are doing. But somebody who's making that household decision, right? You're typically going to see that age group on Facebook. LinkedIn is a professional platform. I highly recommend that every one of you who works for a business has a professional business LinkedIn page. Also Facebook as well, but LinkedIn, I recently attended a conference on AI, marketing conference, and there's some great facts that we learned about AI. And one of them with LinkedIn is that it is the third highest read platform for AI. So people are no longer going to Google and saying, I need internet, find local internet by me. They're going to ChatGPT and they're asking to put together a plan, or they're searching, please show me who the best person in my area is. I live in upstate New York. Who's going to provide me the best rates? So if you do not have a LinkedIn business page, that's going to be one of your quick fixes that you can take from this today. Get a LinkedIn business page. Instagram, right? We're seeing younger age groups on that 18 to about 35, 40. Again, so you are going to have decision makers on there as well. But local community pages, anybody who is on Facebook, I'll just take, for example, Elmira, small town in upstate New York. There's also an area called West Elmira. There's the West Elmira community page. So joining some of those community pages. TikTok is a great platform because we all know that video content, right? Static content, meaning just those posts that you're putting in feeds, are not getting as much traction anymore. People are looking for those quick clips, those video contents. So some good examples of content, right? Educational, you're providing education for your audience. Being community focused. Why is it important that you're in the communities that you're serving? And some of the behind the scenes. People really like to see what your day looks like, believe it or not. They like to see, we've had great success with some of our posts of people laying fiber. They want to know what goes on. So just some ideas for that. Your engagement strategies. So once you start posting on some of these different social media platforms, if people are asking questions in the comments, you should be replying to them. Social media platforms, like the algorithms, read these. So the more engaging a post is, the more engaging or views a video is getting, the more those platforms are organically pushing it out to be seen by the consumers. With those engagement strategies too, right? Sharing local pride. If there's things that you do in the community, if you support a sports team, if you've made a donation, if you're donating your time, right? Putting some of that content out there as well. Back to the storytelling, right? Photos, the short videos that I mentioned, all are great ways to be successful on social media. Frequency and consistency matters more than perfection, right? So I would rather see people posting 3 times a week, getting comfortable with it, than going, oh, I'm so nervous and I can't do this and I need it to be perfect. And then it takes me quite a while to get that one post out. Put yourself on a schedule, right? If you can say, all right, I can commit to Monday, Wednesday, Friday for posting, that's a great start. But really you do need frequency and you need consistency. One more thing I'd like to touch on with AI, what I mentioned about LinkedIn, with that being the third biggest platform that AI is pulling from, is also to make sure that your websites and your posts on social media, you're putting in things that are also in a question and answer format. So AI reads content by questions and answers. So as it's going through and it's scanning things, for example, let's say you, internet service provider. Let's say that you are fast and reliable. Okay, we're just gonna say, because I think we all probably use those terms, but somebody might go to ChatGPT. I'm sorry, ChatGPT would be reading that. So through your posts or your website and saying, are you looking for fast and reliable internet? Right? So does it say that on your website? Does it say that in your posts? Because that's how AI is reading things. So in order, and we all know that AI is not going away. So in order to stay on top of that, make sure you're putting different content in question and answer format. Standing out from your competition, right? It's business. We're all competing against somebody. Have you done a competitive analysis against your top 3 biggest competitors? I know when I started here, I did. And I know that my boss, Pat, is on here listening. So he's probably laughing at the jokes that we have in our office when I did my competitive analysis and what I say about my competitors, right? But competition is good. It's healthy. If you're not looking at your competition, you're falling short. You have to take a look at what they're doing. Connecting with your audience. So we had great success with a video that we posted, and this is just a little picture I took from the video, again, from my boss, Pat, who's probably shaking his head at me right now for this picture that I chose. But we had wonderful success. We have a lot of questions where people don't know what open access is, or they don't quite understand it. So we were in the office and I said, hey, Pat, would you mind doing a video for me? I need you to talk in depth about just what is open access. Give me a basic, somebody who doesn't work in this industry, what is it? So we sat in our boardroom and he did it once. He did it the second time. We recorded it the second time and we put it out there. There's a couple places where he says in it, but it's real. People don't want canned content, right? They don't want you to speak like a corporate robot. You're trying to connect with somebody and build this relation. This video within the first 3 days got over 2,500 views. I think half of it was Pat and his family, but we still got, over 2,500 views. So that was great. Now I would take something like that and then possibly also go, okay, I'm going to run an ad on Facebook based on this content and the analytics from this, seeing how many views it got or interactions. That's content that I may pay for some advertising with later. But I'm going to go back to that where you're speaking like a human in that video. That's why that video was so successful. It's just Pat having a conversation with me on the other side of the camera, talking about what open access is. Some other ideas to connect with your audience, right? Highlight the neighborhoods that you're serving, using local photos and landmarks. We're here in Corning. If you look out my office window, I can see, well, through the rain and clouds, but the Gaffer Tower, people know what that is. So in some of our marketing, I'm incorporating that because that's where we are, the areas that we serve. Being real with your audience will build trust faster than going to ChatGPT and saying, hey, please write me a post or a script, and then using that word for word, right? Consumers know that it doesn't feel real. So measuring success, right? I like to say that, the numbers don't lie. So how do we measure our success, right? We're looking at those key metrics: reach, engagement, website clicks, conversions, people signing up for service, tools that we're using for this, our Facebook Insights, your Google Analytics, your LinkedIn Analytics, testing different things. Right when I first started here at Southern Tier Network, there were a couple posts that I put out, a couple, different marketing avenues I went with, and I was like, yeah, nope, that's not going to work. Don't be afraid to test something, right? To write your marketing plan. And sometimes we have to pivot because our consumers just aren't responding to what we initially thought would work. And it just takes a little different tweak sometimes. What works in one area, for example, may not work in another. So my messaging, when I'm targeting a certain area, maybe a city, would be different than when I'm targeting a more rural area, right? Because some of the rural areas that we serve, some of them dial up. And until starting in this position, I had no idea that some people were going through that because it didn't affect me. So pivoting and getting ready to change what your original plan was. Don't be afraid to pivot. We are going to talk about analytics. They're measuring success. So our analytics, right? Why do they matter? Analytics are important because that's the data that's telling us what's working and what's not. So the analytics help us to understand our consumers, right? Where they come from. You should be tracking your website traffic and knowing what page on your website that they stay the longest on. If they come to your homepage and they leave within 2 seconds, you may want to rethink your homepage, okay? Tracking your performance. Please, if you're going to put a paid social media ad out, don't just go along with the Facebook says, would you like to boost this post? And you say, yes. And then it just boosts it for you. You should really be, how we do it is by the zip codes that we're trying to service. And on the back end of those ads, you can certainly do that. I am available for questions, or if somebody ever has a quick question on how to do that. I have some great resources, videos that I can send. And like I said, my information will be on after. So if you do have a question how to do that, I'm certainly happy to answer those questions. But tracking that performance, right? We're measuring our campaigns. What does well in one zip code might not in another. Our conversions, the conversions are, right? How many people are clicking on the link? How many people are signing up for our service? And what's our return on investment? I know that right now for us, one of our strongest returns on investment are Facebook ads. We've been having phenomenal success with our paid advertising on Facebook. But that's me making a data-driven decision. I know that that's working because we're tracking our submission forms. And when we're running those ads, we have a 75% increase in submission forms from those Facebook ads. The key metrics, right? How many times, and so an impression, when we're talking about those ads, an impression, and I get asked this a lot because people don't know what an impression is. It's just how many times your ad or content is shown organically. If something's performing really well, it's getting those likes, those hearts, comments underneath it, questions. Those platforms are organically pushing that out into people's feeds. And then when you see something in your feed, that's an impression, okay? Your website traffic, you should really, once a month, be looking at your website traffic. Ideally, should be probably like 2 to 3 times a month. But if you can just commit to once a month, that's going to be very helpful for you in understanding your consumers. If you have forms, your conversion rates, you should be watching those. Where people are visiting from. So I know on your website, you should have an area that tells you where people are visiting from. When I say visiting, that means looking at your website. So you should be able to see like, oh, wow, I'm doing really well here. Let's say Buffalo, New York, I get 1.2 million visitors a day, right? Fabulous analytics. But that's telling me that they want my service, they're interested. So that's great. Let's do maybe a little more to get those conversions up there. If I know that I'm serving Corning, New York, and I don't have any website traffic from Corning, New York, I need to rethink my plan and what's working for that area, right? Our customer retention rate, this is a great metric. Like once you get that customer, are you losing them? Are they staying with you? That's a fantastic metric that we should all be tracking. Tools for this that work, the Google Analytics, CRM, everybody, here should be working with a CRM. Like some great ones, Zoho, we use Zoho here at Southern Tier Network. Salesforce is fantastic. Your ad platforms, so on Meta, reading those analytics, and then your customer feedback tools, right? Are you taking surveys? See how that works for you. These are just some pictures I threw in so you could see what they look like. Some people aren't familiar with where to go or how to pull their metrics. So over on the left side of my screen, you're going to see that's what Meta Business Suite looks like. You can look at your ads, your insights, the planner that's there. If you're not on, software that is a planning tool, that planner on Meta is going to be great. You can sit down at the beginning of your week and plan your posts for the week. On the top of my screen, you're going to see that's just a snippet from our CRM. Like I said, we use Zoho, and you can see I've ran 2 email campaigns recently that are doing really well. And then at the bottom, that professional dashboard, that is what the Instagram looks like. And you can see those insights that I pulled. They're not from STN, but I wanted you to be able to see insights on what it looks like. We're going to talk about quick wins. What are some things that you can be doing right now to increase your marketing efforts? You need to make sure that you have a Google business profile that's active. You need to make sure that you have a LinkedIn business page. That's extremely important. And if you do not have a Facebook page, you need to make sure you have a Facebook business page as well. My challenge to everybody here in this webinar today is going to be to say, okay, LinkedIn business page, 2 posts a week, and a Facebook business page, 2 posts a week. And that's just to get started. Where I've worked with people who are like, I don't like social media, I don't want to do it. So I like to start out small, right? If you can commit to 2 posts a week, get comfortable with it, get familiar with it, see what's working, reading those analytics, then that's something that we can always grow on. Okay. Some great wins that we've had. We have some branded material. Our contractors, right, when they're out in the field, you can see the t-shirts there in the middle of my screen, the yellow ones. And then on the left, you can see the white t-shirts. Those are ones that we use for giveaways, for community events. We've had great success with yard signs when we did our Nichols project. And this is something that we recently just got our 3 different yard signs. So you can say that, once we've installed service, we have fiber internet, you can too. Fiber internet is available in your area. And then if it's coming soon, going to the fire halls, one of our team members, Ben, is doing really great at some of his community connections and being able to talk with, some of these relationships that he has in these areas. So like the fire hall coming soon, affordable fiber internet, people are driving, back and forth and they see that and they're going to inquire. Updates during the build. So if we are using those and we're saying coming soon, right? If somebody goes to our Facebook business page or our LinkedIn business page, are we keeping those residents up to date on the builds and what's happening? I encourage everybody to invest in branded material, some yard signs, the community t-shirts, the contractor t-shirts. Again, those are things that we have had success with. And then also being present in the community. Some of these local chambers are great resources. They have fantastic connections to residents and to businesses within these local communities. This picture was actually taken from one of the Watkins Glen Chamber events that we attended. So be not president, apologies, be present in the community, attend chamber events, go to networking groups. And all of this comes down to another statistic, fact that I really like, right? It takes an average of 8 touch points before you make a sale. A touch point is a networking event. A touch point is a Facebook post. A touch point is a LinkedIn post. A touch point is seeing your t-shirt. A touch point is seeing the yard sign. That's only 5 that I've named. An average of 8 touch points before you make a sale. So that's what I want to close the presentation with. I love that fact, but it just should give some clarity as to how much work it takes to get your consumers there, to build that trust and to make that sale. So I'm going to go ahead and recap real quick. Know your audience, build trust, be consistent, and make sure you are measuring your results, okay? Confused consumers do not make a purchase. I want you to say that all weekend to yourselves. Confused consumers do not make a purchase, okay? Marketing is an ongoing process. It's not a one-time event. So if you say, well, I did some Facebook advertising for a week. No, it's an ongoing process, one that you should build a plan for, one that you should build a budget for, in order for it to work. And I will end with check your analytics, and check your analytics again, because that's your data that helps you make those crucial decisions for what's working and what's not. So if anybody has any questions, I tried to move through that so that I didn't keep everybody here on a Friday too late. But if you have any questions, my contact information is here. If you have anything now, I'm happy to answer anything. Oh, I can see in the chat.
Thank you so much, Eileen. If anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll absolutely answer them all.
Yep, so I do have a question for measuring success. If folks don't have internet or cell phone coverage, how are we measuring that success? I would say, you know, they're going to work. That's a great question, and I'm gonna spitball for it right now because I haven't like had that one come up yet. So I would say, like, looking at your website traffic, right? There people are going to work, or they're, you know, school, or maybe they're going to a local coffee shop or diner or something. So I would start with looking at maybe what your website traffic is. And then the other one.
I think that Lindsay has her hand up.
Yep. Grab
But you're going to need to unmute mute yourself, Lindsay.
Yep. And
okay.
I think is it me?
So the unserved BSLs that we are marketing to do not have internet, do not have cell phone coverage,
Okay.
Are out in the countryside, perhaps half a mile apart from each other. So how will this type of marketing address those unserved BSLs?
So I would say, even if they don't have cell phone coverage at their home, they're leaving their home at some point. So I would still say social media is probably a great resource for that. But that's going to be where I talked about your community connections, you know, going into some of those town hall meetings. And when you go to something like that, and if you're ready to register people, make sure you have that with you. If it's a tablet, if it's a QR code, if it's, you know, but make sure you have something. And if you're saying a lot of them don't have, you know, coverage, you're going to want maybe a document that walks them through how to sign up. And I would also say, look at those yard signs, would be something that would probably work very well in those areas. Anybody else? No? Okay.
We have a question from Kevin. Do we have a suggested budget allocation percentage by channel?
I know what I have for a budget with STN. I'm not sure how everybody else is doing their budget, but I've worked with, our CEO and our director of broadband services in order to put together what our budget is.
Let me jump in here as well. I would say that initially in the early launch phase, you probably want to be allocating your budget fairly evenly across channels. So like if you have $1,000 to spend on digital, you probably would want to spend 300 on Facebook, 300 on LinkedIn, 300 on Instagram or something. But as you build these metrics out and as you track the results of your efforts, you'll start to be able to narrow in on what the most effective channels for you are. And so that just goes back to the importance of tracking this stuff and making sure that you have a concrete sense of like what one impression on Facebook means versus what one impression on LinkedIn means.
Right. And unless you're right, people on LinkedIn are going to be consumers. But my marketing budget looks different for Facebook than it does for LinkedIn. And, early on, like I said, I've been here about 6 months, but early on when I started, we did a little bit of digital marketing with one of the local media stations, right? That was putting our ads, if you're scrolling on social media and you see those pop-ups, we did that. I tested that for 60 days and we didn't see as good as results that we did with our Facebook marketing. So that's not something that we're going to continue right now. Yes, Lindy? You just have to unmute.
So sometimes because of the build schedule of the project, you don't want to market too far ahead of people being able to get satisfied to be able to get connected. So do you have any metric that you do for how soon the fiber may be in an area and how soon you initiate marketing?
Yeah, so right now that's something that we've been working with. So really like 6 months prior, maybe just a couple of those yard signs coming soon. And then as you're getting closer, you're going to increase what more of those would look like. We've also done mailers with postcards that say, coming soon. But when you come to our website, and you fill out an availability form, we're then gathering that data. So then I have all those email addresses and their email addresses and their physical addresses. So then we can send an email blast out as well. Like I sent out a newsletter, I want to say it was probably about 2 months ago. That was like, here's where we are in the process. This is what New York State ConnectALL is, right? Because that's important for them to know that there's funds that have been allocated for this from New York State to help them. So that's on there. The areas where it's coming soon, the areas where it's available now. And we saw some, great results with that as well.
And I would add to that I don't think that you can really market too early for something like this. I mean, sure, if you're putting it out 2 years ahead, that might be a little early, but as long as we're talking within the next 12 months, your consumers are going to sort of build a sunk cost mindset around this. If they're reaching out and they're interested, even if they reach out 5 times, and express interest 5 times, they're going to then build that sort of mental connection where they're thinking, I've reached out 5 times. When is this coming to me? I really want it. And those consumers are likely the ones who are going to sign up the fastest, even if they are the most vocal and seem the most annoyed at the speed of deployment. When it comes time to actually get connected, you'll find that they're going to be the ones who will immediately sign up because they want it, and they've spent time and effort trying to find out when they can get it.
Yep. And remember when I closed with it's 8, a minimum, right? Your average 8 touch points. So you don't want to wait until a month before, you know, the job is done and when we're ready for service. You need 8 touch points minimum before your consumers, you know, converting for a sale.
Any other questions? All right. On that note, I think we will end the webinar. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I hope you found this informative and interesting. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. You should all have my email, but I will put it in the chat just in case. And also feel free to reach out to Eileen. I know that she said she would love to connect with some of you to give you advice or to answer additional questions. We will be sending around this deck to everybody who was in the meeting probably on Monday, so stay tuned for that. And we'll also send around the recording as well. So thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.
And I'll talk to you all soon.
Have a great weekend. Thank you.